Hello friends, today I'm doing things a little bit different. So I normally talk a lot about symptoms of Cptsd, symptoms of narcissistic abuse, symptoms of codependency, symptoms of unhealed trauma. Today I want to talk about symptoms or characteristics of people that have healed their complex PTSD or narcissistic abuse. Okay, in other words, what does it look like to be healed? I put together 15 things that can help you to gauge where you are on your healing journey. Okay, so I wrote them down. Let's get started. The first one that I put is that your default emotion changes. People that have unhealed trauma or are still suffering from narcissistic abuse, their default emotion is usually an emotion that disempowers them. It might be depression or anxiety. Those are two very common ones, or they swing back and forth between those two default emotions. And when I say default, what I mean by that is the fact that you don't try to feel that, it's just there. So it's your default emotion. Well, as you're healing, you get a different default emotion, and it's a more empowering one. For some, it's peace. For some, it's serenity. Others, it's passionate, excitement, joy, happiness, and that becomes their default. In other words, rather than having glimpses of what that would feel like, it becomes their norm and the emotional state that they live in for the majority of the time. Your mind is calm. Your mind learns how to be in the moment. People that are still battling Cptsd are in two places. They're either in the past, ruminating about what happened and trying to make sense out of it, or they're anxious about the future. And they are never in the present moment. Somebody that's healed is living their life in their body and knows what it feels like to have their mind be present. So when it comes to inner dialogue, a lot of my clients in my face-to-face coaching will tell me, Michele, I've been out of a relationship for 2, 5, 10 years. Or I don't really spend a lot of time with my narcissistic parents, but their voice is in my head. And everything I do is stupid, or I'll never be successful, and it's very negative. Well, being healed is about having an inner dialogue that is like your trusted friend. Or actually, it's an inner dialogue of how you talk to your friends. So when you make a mistake, you emotionally support yourself. Rather than emotionally abandon yourself or treat yourself with conditional love, your inner dialogue is a source of encouragement, understanding, compassion, and unconditional love. Your memory is better. When I first started coaching about close to 5 years ago, I'm not gonna lie, I was still working through my own healing journey. Okay, it's just that I was a little bit ahead, and I would get people saying, Michele, I see where you were 6 months ago, and I see where you're at now. Can you help me to get there? But I wasn't really fully healed. I was still dealing with a lot of emotional dysregulation, and my memory was horrible. There were times when I would have a client, and the next week I would be seeing them, and I would try to not look at my notes to try to remember who they were, because there was a time in my life before trauma that I had an amazing memory. But I kid you not, I would be like thinking of who this person was, and I couldn't do it. I had to take such good notes. Now, sometimes I'll get a client that I worked with 6 months ago, and they're doing great, and they just come and they need another few sessions, and I literally remember everything that we talked about. And I can't tell you how good that feels, to feel like my memory is back. But anyway, I'm trying not to get into my story, but my point is that you start to see that you get your memory functioning the way that it used to. And something that goes along with that is that you're able to think more clearly. You're able to make better decisions because you have that clear thinking. You have boundaries and you're able to enforce them. Sometimes in my coaching, I'll get people that say, Michele, I have boundaries, but they don't respect them. It's not enough to have a boundary. Really being healed is learning how to enforce them. In other words, knowing what to do or how to handle it when somebody tries to disrespect a boundary. So when you're healed, you're able to have those boundaries. You're able to keep them intact no matter who you're around. Okay? Because in reality, we're going to be around people that are challenging, right? Whether they're narcissistic or not, it's not about a label. In the world, there are people that are easy to be around. In the world, there are people that are hard, and they tend to challenge your boundaries. But when you are healed, you're able to handle that. Another side effect, or characteristic, I should say, of being healed is the fact that you live life authentically instead of like a chameleon. Now, I'm not going to lie. You don't lose your chameleon abilities because it's something that was so ingrained. It's so easy. It's almost like on a cellular level. It just happens, okay? But you have a choice now. So sometimes I'll be around somebody and within a minute or less, I can kind of size up who they are exactly and create a carbon copy or mirror them if I wanted to, or be what they would need or want, or what would help them to have a nice, interaction with me. But I notice it and I choose to be myself. So there's that space where you notice the old behaviors, and I'm saying this so that you understand that it's not about some things just going away. It's about how you handle them when they come up. But you become authentic, and then you feel like people really know you. When I was a chameleon, I don't think anyone really knew me. They knew the piece of me that I allowed them to see, that I felt they understood, but they didn't really know who I was and what was, really going on inside. And those aren't real friendships. So when you're healed, you are authentic. And guess what? That means not everyone likes you. Being authentic breaks you out of people pleasing. But guess what? You're okay with the fact that not everybody likes you. It's okay. Your job isn't to get everyone to like you. You are able to be comfortable in the discomfort of others. So somebody doesn't like you, you're being authentic, right? And they give you this look like you said something stupid, right? And maybe you did. But instead of beating yourself, you notice that and you're comfortable because you don't need them to like you for you to feel your own self-acceptance, which is a really awesome thing to feel. You have reciprocal relationships. Give and take friendships, give and take romantic relationships, because you teach people how to treat you. You care about others, but you care about your needs as well. You're able to set goals and accomplish them instead of self-sabotage. Healing involves uprooting or weeding the subconscious programs or beliefs that were installed or put into you by people that were toxic, or that didn't have your best interests at heart. So as you're uprooting them, a lot of those beliefs are, you'll never succeed, you're always going to be a failure, why bother, you don't matter. Well, without those beliefs, you uproot them and you upgrade your belief system to things like, I'm allowed to be successful, I'm allowed to be myself, I'm allowed to strive for my goals and accomplish them, I'm allowed to be happy. When you start upgrading your beliefs, then your external world starts to change. We tend to want to see the external change in order to feel a different way, but the reality is that it starts inside. And when you start changing those beliefs, your external world will follow. Your sense of worth is generated from within. It's not based on what you do for others. It's not based on how much you have outside of self. It's your worth just because you exist. You love yourself because you are. There's still stress in life, okay? It's not about never feeling stress or never feeling what we consider maybe like a negative emotion, but it's the fact that when you're healed, you're able to handle stress without getting flung into fight or flight. So you feel grounded regardless of what's happening. You have a sense of trust in yourself. You have a sense of safety in self. You have more energy. Instead of feeling weighed down and heavy and like life is dark, you feel lighter. You feel excited about life. Here's one that I love. You can be around toxic people and it doesn't touch you. Okay, we're human, so we're not gonna like certain things that people do, okay? But when you're healed, you can notice it and you can not like it without it stealing your happiness, without it causing you to go up into rumination. It's like you notice that that's them, but it doesn't alter who you know you are. You have a clear sense of identity. You know who you are. You don't need anybody to confirm it. So because you have that clear sense of identity, it starves the need, or the obsessive need, I should say, for external validation. You don't strive to get any external validation because you know who you are and you can stand behind self. You have good self-care habits. And the last thing that I'm going to mention, and there's a lot. There's a lot of awesome, amazing characteristics that come with healing and really being healed fully of complex PTSD. And the last one that I'm going to mention is that you feel a constant sense of unconditional love of self. So the way you see that is you're going to make mistakes, right? You are going to be imperfect and you are okay with that. You don't hate yourself when those things happen. You don't expect yourself to reach certain external goals in order for you to see your value. And that affects your overall inner sense of happiness. Okay, so those are the side effects or the characteristics of being healed. And guess what? They are real. It's not easy, and the healing journey is not linear. There are times it's going up, and there are times it's down, and there's times it's a little bit, crazy and sporadic. But as time goes on, it starts to kind of even out. And it's a wonderful place to be. And my goal is that as many people as possible get there. So in all honesty, evaluate where you were last year. Use this list as a guide. If you're watching a lot of videos, but you're not seeing yourself shift and you're still in the same challenges, then you just may need a little bit extra help. Make sure you check out the description box below. I have face-to-face, one-on-one coaching, and I also have the Thriver School of Transformation. These are resources that are designed to help you to put into practice what you're learning. Sometimes we need that extra help to be able to do that. But until then, I hope this video inspires you as to what you can get to if you don't give up.